Welcome back to the Kosi Arsenal channel. My name is Kosi. Welcome back to a brand new video. The agent of Victor Gyökeres has been on a tour in London, talking to Arsenal, talking to a couple of other clubs about the potential of Victor Gyökeres moving to the Premier League. We're going to be talking about that story, what has been discussed, what has Arsenal offered to Victor Gyökeres. We'll also be talking about the player that Aston Villa have hijacked off Arsenal. They have done a masterclass on us once again. They have taken a player that we thought would be joining us very easily in the summer. He's going to be joining them, and David Ornstein has confirmed this. Arsenal are not signing Sivert Mannsverk. We'll be talking about that story as well. It has been confirmed by TBR Sport that Thomas Partey is now seen as a squad player at Arsenal, with Martin Zubimendi all but confirmed. And Arsenal saying they're not going to keep Thomas Partey on 200 or 300k wages as a squad player, and that is why they are not thinking about giving him a new deal because of the wages, and also they have a player incoming to replace him. Barcelona have no plans of signing Nico Williams. They're not revisiting that position, as Arsenal look at Bradley Barcola as an option if Nico Williams doesn't happen. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel as well. What do you think about Bradley Barcola? He is devastating in terms of pace, isn't he? He's a wonderful player. We're going to see him as Arsenal take on PSG on the 29th of April this month. We shall be playing them in the semi-finals of the Champions League first leg, and then on the 7th of May as well, the coming month, we shall play them again. So we're going to get a chance to see all these, lightning quick players. But Bradley Barcola is a player that has been linked with Arsenal in January and now linked with Arsenal once again. Let me know your thoughts on this young lad right there. So let's get into it. Let's start with that Victor Gyökeres story. The agent of Victor Gyökeres has been in London for the month of April, trying to negotiate deals and trying to understand what kind of offers different clubs have for his player. Now, of course, it's not just Arsenal. He's been talking to Arsenal. Of course, we know that. We're going to talk about the terms and conditions that the player has been given. But he's been talking to Chelsea. He's been talking to Tottenham. He's been talking to Manchester United to try and sound out a move. We know that the player has a gentleman's agreement with Sporting Lisbon, and he's already told them, I'm not going to stay for one more year. I'm not going to stay beyond this summer. The moment the window opens, I'm going to be assessing my options and I'm going to be moving around. So the first club they have talked to is Arsenal. And of course, we know that Arsenal have offered a 200k deal per week, and they have also offered the player a 5-year deal. For me, for a 27-year-old player, that is about it. He's earning 46k way back in Portugal. We have almost multiplied his salary by 5. I don't think it gets better than that, and I don't think there's so many other clubs out there that are going to, be giving him that huge amount. However, Arsenal are not the only club, and Arsenal have got their own problems when it comes to Victor Gyökeres that I'll tell you about later on. But Tottenham are also there, and Tottenham are willing to pump him some money into this Ange Postecoglou project. They're a club that are slowly but surely realizing that they're sinking. This season, they've been oscillating between 10th and 15th for the whole season, and I think come next summer, they're going to wake up. They're going to splash some big money. Now, for me, Victor Gyökeres is the kind of striker, if he doesn't come to Arsenal, he's the kind of striker that I can see replace Harry Kane at Tottenham. It's that kind of Tottenham Hotspur kind of signing. The way they signed Heung-min Son, it's that kind of player for them. For 60 million euros, that is not big money. I think Danny Levy will put that money on the table, and they can give him the 200k or the 190k that he's going to be asking for a week. Now, the difference between Sporting and Tottenham is at Sporting, he's sure and rest assured of playing in the UEFA Champions League. Tottenham, unless they win the Europa League. If they win the Europa League, because they're in the semi-finals of the competition, so if they win the Europa League, they can guarantee him UEFA Champions League football next season, then everything will be all right. And I also think that Spurs, being that kind of team that can always qualify for the Champions League through fifth, they can actually talk to the player and he will listen. The other club they've talked to is Manchester United. Now, with Manchester United, I'm really intrigued to see whether Ruben Amorim is going to use his influence to sign Victor Gyökeres. Now, the player is not really interested in going to Manchester United with the kind of project they have and the kind of state the club is in, he's not really interested in going there over Arsenal. But if he doesn't go to Arsenal, what if Arsenal work out the Alexander Isak deal? What if Arsenal decide to go for maybe someone else, maybe Lautaro Martinez, maybe Benjamin Sesko? That is where other options like Manchester United come in. Now, I can see him go to Manchester United for one or two reasons. One, United are one of the clubs that can afford 60 million euros. I think that price tag will come down to about 55 million euros in my opinion. I think they can afford it. That's number one. Number two, on top of that, they can give him the wages that he's actually asking for. They're offloading the likes of Eriksen, they're offloading the likes of Casemiro, Rashford. All these big earners at the club are leaving the club, so they can afford to give a striker like Victor Gyokerez 200k, and they are in dire need of a centre forward. Like, I think they do have centre forwards. Rashford would have been a good one if they hadn't let him go to Aston Villa. But they've got Rasmus Hojlund up there. They've got Josh Zirkzee up there as well. I think the point that United need is an effective centre forward. The way Victor Gyökeres was for Sporting under Ruben Amorim, that kind of guy that can guarantee you chances buried, whether it's a penalty, a free kick. This guy used to score every kind of goal for Ruben Amorim's team. So I think there will be an element of a reunion if Arsenal don't sign Victor Gyokerez. And then Chelsea obviously are also there. Chelsea have their own troubles when it comes to financial fair play and sustainable rules. But this is another club that is looking for a centre forward, and another club that has shown interest in Victor Gyokerez before. So, among all those clubs, for me at the moment, I think Arsenal are still the most attractive for the player. One, UCL football. I don't know whether by the time we get to the summer, by the time we get to June or July, Arsenal will be champions. But if you were champions of the UEFA Champions League, that is what Madrid have used over the years. They've been winning the Champions League for 15 times. And it's so easy for them to attract players, even players from big clubs like Manchester United and Liverpool. And these days, they'll get your player on a free. That is how bad Madrid are. So if Arsenal are champions of the UEFA Champions League, that changes everything. It absolutely changes how players view us, how our project looks to the outside world and everything. So Victor Gyökerez's agent has been in London. Talks have been held. Arsenal have given him that proposal, 200k. We have given him everything he needs to know about the Arsenal project, where we are going, where we're coming from, and what we want to do and what we need in order to accomplish what we want. And I believe Gyökeres and his agent will make the right decision of ending up at Arsenal. I don't have any doubt. Of course, Nicolata and Andre Bata have to come to a consensus. Do they go with Sesko or do they go with Victor Gyökeres? They've already agreed Isak is unattainable. But can they now agree that Gyökeres is the next best thing over over Benjamin Sesko? Because it makes sense for you to come down from Isak, and then right in the middle, you have players like Gyökeres, you have players like Osimhen, you have players like Lautaro Martinez, right? And then you stop there. If you can't get any of those options, then it's okay for you to go for a Jonathan David, it's okay for you to go for a Matheus Cunha, it's okay for you to go for a Hugo Ekitike, and all the rest. And of course, David Onstein has given us an update on Hugo Ekitike. Initially, he said he wasn't aware of Arsenal's interest in Hugo Ekitike. A couple of reports were saying this and that, but he wasn't aware of it. Now he has come out and said there is interest from Arsenal in Hugo Ekitike. Interesting. Very, very interesting. Because the introduction of Hugo Ekitike to the Arsenal transfer race in terms of a striker, it changes everything. Because when you look at the profile of Hugo Ekitike, and you look at the profile of Alexander Isak, a few people are calling him the mini Isak. My favorite podcast on Arsenal, the Canon podcast, they called him the mini Isak. And I think they're not far away from the truth. Isak is really talented, but Ekitike is really talented too. And I think Mikel is looking for that kind of player that just emulates Alexander Isak. And that's why he's stuck with Benjamin Sesko, and now he's looking at the market and it's like, What if we get Hugo Ekitike can do for me what Alexander Isak would have done at a cheaper cost? He's not going to come very cheap, 70 million euros. It's not very cheap, but Arsenal have genuine interest in Hugo Ekitike as long as Šeško and Viktor Gyokerez. Now, Aston Villa have hijacked a deal of Arsenal, and this is Sivert Mannsverk, the 18-year-old Norwegian who Arsenal thought they were gonna get in January. Then he reconsidered his position. He said, I'm gonna take some time off. I'm gonna give myself time and see where this one leads. Aston Villa are very close to agreeing a deal for Sivert Mannsverk. Personal terms yet to be discussed, but Ornstein says Villa are moving quickly, and also a price between the two clubs is yet to be agreed, but Villa are moving quickly on that front as well. Now, what is interesting on this one, and I want to read for you this directly. David Ornstein says, Naipan wasn't being targeted because Arsenal absolutely needed him as an immediate midfield option. He was more of a market opportunity for a young talent, the likes of which Arsenal could say they need to be better at recruiting. So this is where I'm intrigued, because Sivert Mannsverk was reported, the Sivert Mannsverk deal to Arsenal was reported first by David Ornstein in January. And he said, I remember clearly on his Twitter account, he said he could be integrated into the Arsenal first 11. That means that Arsenal were desperate. We were desperate because we're looking to integrate an 18-year-old player from Norway into the first 11, right? Into the first squad, not in the first 11, but into the first squad. And that shows that we were desperate, and yes, we were desperate. Now, for Arsenal to let him go to Aston Villa like that, does that mean that the train has sailed, right? Does that mean that the ship has sailed on and Arsenal are no longer interested in him and Arsenal can look at, better opportunities, right? But then he says that Arsenal looked at him as a good market opportunity. If he was a good market opportunity in January, what makes him a bad market opportunity in the summer? I mean, he's still the same 18-year-old that would cost very little money. He's still a market opportunity. I kind of feel like Arsenal wanted to bring him in as a desperate move that failed, and then we have obviously moved on. Now, in terms of moving on, Arsenal moved on from your favorite player. This is according to TBR, who have actually said that the arrival of Martin Zubimendi makes Thomas Partey a redundant squad player. And for the wages that he's earning, Arsenal are unlikely and unwilling to give him a new deal as a squad player. It makes sense. It really, really makes sense. Now, I was about to do a video, and I'm really happy that I've seen this before I put out that video, because I was about to do a video, and I think I will do it. Yeah, it depends on my ego, really. But I was about to do a video on Partey, and I wanted to do a video just saying, please Arsenal, give him a new deal. But it makes sense. Mikel Arteta and Andre Barca, they've got to look at this wage thing, right? They've got to look at this wage thing. If you're going to sign Nico, and if you're going to sign Gyökeres, and if you're going to bring in Zubi, all those players are going to be earning 200,000 plus every single week. And Arsenal already have enough players earning 200,000 plus. And of course, we have more players that are going to be moving into that category. So Arsenal is saying, and I hope you guys understand this, because I've understood it, that we have so many players on 200K. We can't have squad players on 200K. Now, there is a very important question. What happens to Kai Havertz if Arsenal sign a proper number 9, right? What happens to Kai Havertz if Arsenal sign the next number 9? Because he will become a squad player, no doubt. And I'm not saying a club the magnitude of Arsenal and, with all the ambitions that we have, we shouldn't have squad players, good squad players. We should have good squad players. The way you see City, they used to have Kevin De Bruyne and Bernardo Silva and Rodri starting, and Ilkay Gundogan is on the bench, and Phil Foden is on the bench, and that is massive quality, right? There's no harm in that. But for Partey, who is aging, 30, 31, He's earning a lot of money. You brought in Martin Zubimendi. You have Declan Rice in the same position. I think Partey is replaceable, number one. But I also think that he is... I don't want to call him expendable, but I think you can say that Arsenal can do away with him and stay in, stay safe, right? Now, Barcelona are not in the race to sign Nico Williams. This has been coming out from Spain. They have looked at Nico Williams and that deal as a ship that has sailed. Interesting. These guys were so mad about him last summer. But I think what we saw with all clubs on Nico Williams last summer was the effect of the Euros. Now that he has had a complete season, now that he has had an independent season without the Euros, all clubs are saying, well, it's not bad, but it's okay. We shall pass. It's okay. It's okay. That is, now all clubs are looking at him through the right lens. Not just a good Euro season, but through the right lens. And I think Arsenal should still go and do this deal, but we shouldn't be crazy. Arsenal are looking at Bradley Barcola. Now, we will do a video on Bradley Barcola, the way we have done a video on Anthony Gordon, right? Bradley Barcola is devastating. He's got the pace. I'll do a video on him. But let me know what you think about him as an option, and I'll speak to you right in the next one.